On this episode of Ask Dan, we're going to talk about the state of mobile and what I think, which is kind of fun. And what about Surface Go and using LTE? What's the deal with carriers? Are they going to be involved or not? And can Intel and ARM ever actually run together? All that and more. Stay tuned. What's your opinion on the state of mobile devices today? All right, so that's a very vague question, one I could spend probably an hour talking about. In fact, I often do with Zach Bowden on the Windows Central podcast. You can listen to that on mixer.com/Windows Central, a little plug there. But yeah, that'd be more appropriate for these long form kind of questions, but real short. I mean, phones today are basically plateaued, and that's okay, right? Everything's gotten a little bit boring in my opinion. Even the latest OnePlus 6, which I use as my daily device, is nice, but I don't really feel like it was a huge upgrade over my OnePlus 5. And that's kind of where we are now with these devices. We're seeing moderate improvements over year, but there's nothing really groundbreaking anymore. The app ecosystems are stabilized. We're not getting any more really must-have apps. We're all kind of fell into the rut of using standard Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Yelp. And so all that is kind of normal, and that's fine. I don't want to be like this is a negative thing. This is what always happens with technology. I mean, if I went back and say 100 years ago and showed them my refrigerator, they'd be blown away by it. Yet every day we take for granted all the stuff that's around us. And that's exactly what's happening with the smartphone industry right now. Now, I do think that companies will start to back out of Android devices over the next year. I think LG, HTC, even Motorola are going to start to have a lot of problems with trying to meet demand and basically create their own identity in this market. Instead, we're going to see things like Samsung really dominate the high end, OnePlus and some Chinese manufacturers on the low end, and of course there'll be Apple as well. Now, what I really think you're hinting at here is what I think about Microsoft, what they should be doing. Obviously, Andromeda plays a big role in this, at least in theory. But yeah, in order for a company to really sort of kickstart this, we've got to start thinking outside the box and what's coming next. I always bring up this point, which is, what will cell phones and smartphones look like in 5 to 10 years? I think it's such a weird question to ask because the rate at which technology is moving these days is kind of weird. The idea that these phones are just going to be thinner and better displays in, say, 10 years, I think is being really disingenuous to the amount of technology innovation that's actually happening today. I think there's going to be a lot of changes over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years that's really going to dramatically change this stuff. But it's okay. For right now, we can fall into this rut of smartphones and we'll have to wait for someone else to kind of come along and reinvent it. I don't think simply making screens bigger or adding 5 lenses to your device is going to necessarily radically change anything. Neither will facial recognition on your device as well. But smartphones become so important to our daily lives. It should be fun to follow over the next few years and see what actually happens. And fingers crossed, maybe Microsoft will actually get on board too. How do carriers handle LTE devices like the budget Surface Go? All right, so flashing back a few years ago, carriers were heavily involved with tablets. That is, they would often get them exclusively, sell them in stores, and you had to go in there, sign a contract. A lot of that has changed, and for the better. So regarding Surface Go, this will be launching later in 2018 with an LTE version. Obviously, if you're in the United States, you can get non-LTE starting on August 2nd. Pay attention for that review for that one. But if you want the LTE version, you have to wait a few months. That will be shipping with the Snapdragon 816 LTE modem. That's the same modem found in the Surface Pro LTE. That's a really good modem too. I'm very excited that's the one they're using. They're gonna have very good reception with this device. It's a global modem, meaning you can throw in any kind of SIM into it and it'll work. And it should be very good. Now regarding carriers, what's neat about this is it doesn't really matter for carriers. You can buy this device direct from Microsoft and just throw in any SIM into the device and it'll start to work. In fact, you could take your phone SIM, just pop it out, drop it in this device, and it'll use the data. You could swap between them like that. Now, obviously, most people won't want to do that because you'll miss your phone calls. I'm just saying that's an option. That's how flexible these devices are. That means you can go and just do things like on T-Mobile and do pay-as-you-go plans, which is really kind of a nice way to do it. We should also see the rise of eSIM come online, and this device should support it, though I gotta verify. eSIM will allow you to do things like re-up a plan through the Microsoft Store. Actually, it's through a specific app, and just pay as you go that way without actually even stepping foot in the store or talking to another human, which I really like the sound of. The good news here, though, is if you're interested in Surface Go with LTE, wait a few more months, and you'll be able to get it pretty much on any carrier you want with LTE, including Verizon and Sprint. Can Intel and ARM processors coexist? It's a really interesting question, and I don't have a direct answer to it. I can say theoretically, I suppose it's possible. I don't see, though, Intel and Qualcomm working together anytime soon, though, to make this happen. But then again, Intel and AMD are working closely together. In fact, that laptop behind me is running an Intel and AMD system, which is kind of strange after all. So I guess it could technically happen. But the real question is, will anyone actually make that happen, and what would be the benefit to it? Now, what Dear Waleed is really implying here is, will this somehow make up for the fact that with ARM, you run into issues when you run classic apps, x86 apps that are outside of the Microsoft Store? And could a system flip over to an Intel one and take over and do more heavy graphics work and all that kind of stuff, which Qualcomm couldn't do right now? That's an interesting proposal. It's like asking, can Qualcomm run Thunderbolt 3, which is also an Intel technology? It doesn't seem like it can at this time. And when I talked to Qualcomm about this and external GPUs and making things more powerful, they always said they weren't actually interested in pursuing that market. They're interested in light computing with always connected LTE systems, and that's kind of what they're focusing on, where Intel is really focusing sort of on that mid-range Core i processors. Even their Pentium and Celeron stuff is not updated nearly as much. So while this is technically probably possible, I think it's better just to wait and see as Qualcomm and ARM improves over the next few years, and hopefully Intel will actually try to come down to the lower end and compete with Qualcomm. And I think that's going to be the way this goes. I think having two processors on the same board is just going to be super complicated. All these technologies are not exactly the same. You'd have to design a special board, and these companies aren't willing to work together. So probably I wouldn't hope for that. But you know, rumor has it Microsoft is working on their own chip called an E2 that may be coming out around 2020. We'll have to actually see what happens with that. So there may be a solution here after all. All right, that does it for this episode. Remember, if you have a question, use hashtag AskDanWindows on Twitter, or drop me an email at askdan@windowscentral.com. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.